Hey there, Dr. Drew here. I'm excited and full of emotion today as we talk about how to navigate in a healthy way leaving Mormonism with kids involved. So everything in this video is going to be focused on how to help your kiddo, or kiddos, in my case, be able to navigate and move forward and go beyond the transition. So here with Beyond Transitions, my whole purpose is to help others create a joyful and purposeful and meaningful life beyond the transition. I want to help you get through the faith transition that you might be going through or have already gone through and move into the next phases and next levels in your life. So today, as we talk about these 15 points that I want to bring up, and we'll get through them fairly quickly, of how to help your kiddo navigate through leaving the Mormon faith. You can also get the downloadable that comes with this for free, and it's just a simple 15-point rundown of what I'm talking about in this video, but also on the last page of this free downloadable, you'll notice that there are some resources whenever we get to the talking about values with your kiddos that can help you navigate that process. So please do go ahead and click the link in the description to get that free downloadable. Okay, let's jump in here. Point number one that I want to talk about with you is this is not your fault. A lot of times as parents, and I'm speaking professionally and personally here, that when we see our kid hurting or feeling a lot of emotion or questions, thoughts, whatever it may be that's coming up, we as parents start to feel or are prone to feel guilty, like we did something wrong. My wife and I have been through this many times. I've watched many clients that I've coached and presented to feel this as well, where it's, oh man, I'm dragging them through this, or am I damaging them? Am I hurting them? No. First, no, it's not your fault. And second, no, you're not damaging them, so long as you're helping guide them through the process. Don't just leave it up in the air of, well, they'll figure it out. No, we want to help guide them through and help them navigate this process while, yes, empowering them to think on their own, but giving them the tools to be able to do that. So that is important with point number one, is to recognize this is not your fault. It's not my fault. We were not part of the foundations of the LDS Church, and so it's not our fault, okay? We're doing the best we can given the situation that we're in. Second point that I want to share with you is about the kids. It is about the kiddo, all right? It's not about you when you're helping them navigate. You are working to help them in their process and their journey. I'll get to in a later point about your journey, but we first need to be able to help them and remember that it's not all just about our ideas and our opinions, helping them shape their own and helping them being okay with not knowing and learning and growing. Honestly, with our 4 kiddos, it's been heart-wrenching at times. I don't know how else to say it. You know, having our youngest be almost 3, turning 3 here shortly, and our oldest 10, and our oldest 10-year-old daughter is the one that has had more questions. She's wondered more about, well, why did you teach me this? And now you're telling me everything contradictory to this? What happened? And she's had a lot of moments of, wait a second, how do I fit in school? How do I fit in, whenever, girls are going to activity days and all these other activities? A lot of these questions that we fielded, and a lot of the points I'm going to share with you in the rest of this video have helped us be able to navigate those hard conversations. But what's important is that we are there with her on those conversations, or whenever our boys have those questions. In fact, we encourage them to question. Just because it's hard doesn't mean we shouldn't question it. Now, it's an interesting perspective that I have personally, in a sense of, I grew up outside of Idaho. We just moved here a couple years ago. Was raised in Ohio, Missouri, Oklahoma. That's where I was raised. And to be honest, I was the outsider because I was Mormon. And now I'm working with my kiddos on, in some regards, in the culture we live in, you are an outsider because you're not part of that religion. So it's an interesting dynamic, but also we look at the commonalities, which I love to look at with our kiddos. Is what are the commonalities with kiddos? Just because we don't go to church on Sunday to their church, there's still a lot of things in common. And yes, there's things that are not in common. But let's focus on how we are alike in many different ways. So we have those conversations with our kids. And these following points will hopefully help you as well. So point number 3 is listen, validate, and empower. This is truly the main formula that you're going to see in the rest of these points to help your kiddos navigate this transition. Listen, validate, empower. The next 2 points are about listening. Okay, so point number 4, listening, make eye contact. Make eye contact regularly with your kids, even whenever they're not talking. This is extremely important when we're talking about interpersonal neurobiology and also physiology. What I mean by that, let's just keep this really simple here, is whenever we're making eye contact, we're building trust, secure attachments that we're strengthening. All right, even just whenever we're not even talking, but just eye contact, and not in some creepy way where we're just always trying to look at our kid and freak them out, make them uncomfortable, but in a way that they can trust. Okay, just making that eye contact builds that trust. And second, it calms down the nervous system and creates better heart rate coherence. In other words, your heart rate gets more balanced and smooth. Okay, heartbeat or heart rate. And what that does is it tells the physiological system, your parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, to be balanced, which helps regulate blood flow in the brain. So you're literally helping your kiddo physiologically just kind of be calmed and also building that trust. So when you are having those conversations or just going throughout your day, make it a point to just make eye contact. Come home from school, transition with them, make eye contact with them. That sounds so silly and simple, but yet it is so powerful, and especially in a transition right now. Because a lot of times kids are feeling a lot, they're thinking a lot, and they have a tendency to look down, and we just want them to be here with us and to just show that love through our eyes. Point number 5. I call this the 99th principle, meaning you want to listen, ask questions, listen more, listen more, listen more. Ask more questions so that usually by the 99th time you've asked or you've listened, your kiddo wants to open up. Now, having worked a lot with teenagers and kiddos in the past and going through these transitions, we know there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of vulnerability about talking about some of these harder subjects for these kiddos. And so the more that we listen, the more that we do probe in a way that's curious, not in a way that you have to tell me or any of that garbage, no, but in a way that's loving of, hey, do you want to talk more about that? Well, that's cool. If you don't, not a problem, but whenever you do, I'm here. Or that moment, whenever they do want to open up, that might be at 1 a.m. Doesn't matter if you have to wake up for work the next day. Your kiddo's opinion and what they're thinking. If they want to open up, perfect. It doesn't matter what time of day. If you got to skip out of a meeting, skip out of a meeting. It is that important that they know that whenever they do want to talk and they're ready, maybe the 99th conversation, we're ready and we're there to listen. So I remember that by calling it the 99th principle. Point number 6 is validate everything. You really want to make sure that even if you disagree, you validate everything that they're saying. Validate their thoughts, their emotions, everything, their perspective. And if you disagree with it, that's totally fine. But they're okay to think what they think. They're okay to feel what they feel. Been told, and I definitely, from an LDS perspective, was taught that my thoughts and my feelings were yucky and bad, and I shouldn't feel that way. I should be quick to overcome that. Well, we got to be able to really embrace what we feel and look at our emotions as indicators. Look at our thoughts as indicators, not as they're wrong. So validate, even if you disagree. Validate, validate, validate. Okay, point number 7. And this one is extremely important. Your child is already worthy. Let me say that again. Your child is already worthy. We are taught that, when I say we are taught, we have been taught, I was taught, by church leaders and whatnot, that, I needed to continue to work to be worthy. Was I worthy to go to the temple? Was I worthy for this? We are worthy people. Okay? Yeah, we want to help our kids realize, let's continue to grow as a human being, continue to love more, continue to develop yourself. That's great. But you are worthy. And that is the conversations we've had with our kids and hopefully will continue to have. I've had with many clients of working through that guilt or that shame. And when I talk about shame, shame is somebody else's guilt given to you. Give that guilt back to that person. Let go of that shame. Because you and your kiddo are already worthy people. It is important to hit that one home with our kids. Okay, point number 8 is teach values. Now, like I said in the handout, the free link downloadable that you can get in the description of this video, I have 4 resources of different books and whatnot about teaching values. But what's important first here to recognize is between you and your partner or your spouse, or if you're a single parent, however that works out, decide first on what values you do want to teach your kids. And I'm not saying you have to go out and teach them a new religion. That's not what I'm saying. But values about integrity, about morality, about all kinds of different things in life. To be clear on those values that you do want to teach. And rituals and routines that you do want to either replace or keep doing. What are those? Really revisit the values that you want to teach your kids, okay? And the rituals and routines you want to keep as part of the family. 9th point is obedience versus love. It's sad to me, honestly. You do a Google search, obedience, and over 50% of the resources on there do come from the LDS Church. And I mean, it's just the reality is you're taught obedience, 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 obedience. I looked at, my mission journals and I was actually looking for something just last night. And I was going through and I saw all my journals there, and on, all of them, it was written 100% obedient, obedience with exactness, all these different things like that. And it didn't say love. It didn't say love everyone. Yes, I grew to love everyone when I served a mission or when I was, serving people, but that wasn't the emphasis. And that's something as we transition, we want our kids to not just focus on, be obedient, follow what my parents tell me, follow what everyone tells me, but to have conversations, to have disagreement, to understand why they're doing what they're doing, and put love ahead of obedience. And really hit that home with our kiddos, to not just follow blindly. Okay, and do it because someone in authority told us to do it. Yes, we do have to have those boundaries. Okay, come on, the police tell us to do something, or, follow the laws, all that stuff. Obviously, come on, let's not be ridiculous. But what I'm talking about is if there's not clear understanding, to have conversations about it. Don't just do it because I said it, but have mature conversations. Teach your kids to have crucial conversations. Teach your kids that whenever you bring 2 points of view together, it doesn't have to be one person or the other that's wrong or right. That together you can create better choices. That's important. That goes beyond obedience. But first, talk about love. Also, going beyond obedience is building resilience. In the sense of, we need to teach our kids what it means to be interdependent, okay? Interdependent is what I'm talking about here. Meaning, we need to, it's not independence, it's not dependence that we're looking for, but whenever we can be dependent enough on other people, okay, or a higher power, if that's what you choose to believe, but also being dependent on yourselves. We really are, taught that everything's up to God. Everything's up to Him. And it's kind of this false sense of agency, if you really think about it, that, well, what about your choices? You know what? You got that far in your career because you worked your butt off, but also do recognize everyone around you that helped. But it's okay to say you worked your butt off and that's why you got there. Not that, oh, well, God just gave it to you. No, recognize what you do. Help your kids realize that they're strong and that whenever they do A, that B does happen. All right? Versus, well, you do A and maybe if God loves you enough, you might get this. Wow, that's confusing. Instead, teach your kids to be resilient and that they can work hard and make things happen. And yes, they need help from other people. I don't care who you are. We need people on our team, but ultimately it comes down to us and we have it in us. Important to think about there. Point number 10, true moderation. We're taught just to stay away from everything. And that doesn't really help with, self-control. Now, if there's addictions and your family has a long trail of addictions, you might want to have a conversation with your kiddo about, look, this, if you get into alcohol or you try weed or whatever it may be, you might get addicted pretty quickly. So let's learn how to control that. But if there's not addictions and stuff like that, we still want to have conversations with our kids about addictions, but just because they try something or you try something doesn't mean that you're addicted, nor does it mean you are going to become addicted. Instead, we want to teach our kiddos how to use true moderation in everything, even talking about masturbation or other sexual things. What is true moderation? And it's about having that self-control and recognizing when you don't have self-control and why you don't. Very important conversations to have. Point number 11 is healthy sex life. I just mentioned masturbation. Okay, that's an important subject to talk about. And not shame, because the reality is it happens all the times for youngsters. Instead, let's teach them how masturbation can be healthy and when it crosses lines and moderation with all of that. Also, healthy sexual relationships. What does it mean? It would have been great to know, okay, how to think first about my partner, my wife in a sexual relationship versus just don't do it and then whatever whenever you're married. No. Talk about healthy sexual relationships and what that really means of respecting other people, respecting yourself in those relationships. Talk about those things and look for those opportunities. Point number 12, always be learning in your own journey. Always be developing yourself. Just because you stepped away from religion doesn't mean that spiritual self of yours doesn't need attention. Continue to develop that spiritual self. Continue to get yourself to that next level in life. Point number 13, spend individual time with your kiddos. Don't find the time, make the time, put it in your calendar. That is one of the most important things to do. Spend individual time, and this doesn't have to be heavy conversations. Just have fun. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. Just be together, make eye contact, have fun, laugh, but schedule out one-on-one time. That is one of the most important things you can do every month. Point number 14, help your kiddos find others who have left, other kids who have experiences. It's really important for our 10-year-old daughter right now that she can talk with other kids, even if they don't talk specifically about that, but just so they can have that commonality and they don't feel alone in that. We as adults know that, but think about our kids. Do they feel alone? They have us, but they need to hear other peers that have gone through it or are going through it. That's very important as well. Point number 15, the last one here. Always look to empower. That was part of that 3-part formula of listen, validate, and empower. Always help your kid feel empowered. That they have voice, that they have choice, that they can be seen, that they matter. Yes, we want to teach them humility, but we also want to teach them the strength that they have in them and that there's so many answers right inside of them. And there's so much strength right inside of them. Have those vulnerable conversations. Invite the vulnerable conversations to happen. But remember, they may not open up until that 99th conversation or more. But stay with it. The more they see you care, and that you're curious, the more they will open up. They need to be able to be seen, to be heard, and that they have choice. So let's empower our kiddos together. Please let us know if you have questions. Don't forget to look in the description and get the free downloadable that goes with this. It's just a quick guide and the resources so you can have that printed off and always refer back to. And as always, please do like and share. Feel free to comment on this. That helps us be able to get the word out to more people. So thank you so much. I'll have another video for you next Wednesday. Enjoy this. And please continue to help your kids remember they are strong and they are worthy. All right, we'll talk next week.